Considering buying a phone or SIM plan from Vodafone, in this video, we've reviewed the Vodafone Mobile network to see if they're any good. We've assessed this provider based on their speeds and coverage, roaming, value for money, customer service, and more, to see if you should choose Vodafone. Before we begin, if you're looking for a new smartphone or SIM-only contract, you can use greensmartphones.com to find the best prices. Just click the link to our comparison site in the description, and you can see the cheapest deals on that phone or on SIM-only deals from all of the major networks, including Vodafone. Let's get started. So Vodafone is one of the big four mobile networks in the UK, meaning they have their own infrastructure, along with 3, O2, and EE, rather than reselling access through another network. This means you shouldn't experience any data throttling, but we'll talk about that a bit later in the video. Vodafone offers a good range of pay monthly phone contracts, as well as SIM-only deals. You can always get the latest iPhone or Samsung flagship from Vodafone, and they also have mid-range phones like the Pixel 8 series, as well as a good selection of older phones, including refurbished models, if you want to save a bit of money. You can also choose to pay monthly or pay as you go if you buy a SIM-only deal from Vodafone. They're pretty flexible when it comes to contract length, and like most other major networks, they often include freebies and other benefits on their SIM-only deals, as well as some of their pay monthly phone contracts. For example, you can get YouTube Premium or Amazon Prime on this SIM. Just make sure to come to greensmartphones.com if you're considering buying a phone or a SIM from Vodafone to see if they offer good value compared to the likes of 3 or EE. So does Vodafone offer good speeds and coverage? When it comes to 5G speeds, Vodafone performs pretty well. According to Ookla, the company that runs speedtest.net, Vodafone is the second fastest 5G network in the UK, only behind 3 at the moment. Although Vodafone's 5G coverage isn't the best in the UK. 3 and EE both have them beat when it comes to 5G availability. So before buying a 5G phone on Vodafone, it pays to come to their network coverage map and see what sort of speeds you'll get at your address, as well as around town, where you work, and anywhere else you frequently visit. At this example in London, they have good 5G, so your speeds should be really good. In fact, it's the same in most of London, but as you can see, there are these big blank spots once you move out of major cities when it comes to Vodafone 5G. One thing to be a bit careful about Vodafone is they can restrict their 5G on some plans. They have this thing called 5G Ultra. They don't say that it's faster than their regular 5G service, but they're basically implying that if you don't have a plan with 5G Ultra, then you won't get the best 5G service from Vodafone. So just be a bit careful when buying to make sure you have this 5G Ultra symbol and not this normal 5G symbol next to the deal you're buying, if you want to make sure you get the best 5G performance. In terms of 4G, Vodafone's coverage and speeds are pretty good. They're about in the middle of the major networks. Not quite as good as EE, but not as bad as O2. You can see here on their coverage map, if you go to 4G, it's quite rare to find a spot without any coverage, except in pretty remote areas. You shouldn't have any issues getting good speeds with Vodafone 4G, unless you live in a really small town or village, where EE might have better coverage. Is Vodafone a good choice if you often travel overseas and want to roam with your allowance, just like at home? Vodafone isn't the worst roaming option, but their international travel policies are probably the most complicated of any of the major networks. You can see here, if you go to their roaming page and just begin reading this, it's immediately just far too complicated, in our opinion. What you need to do is figure out which one of Vodafone's zones the countries you visit are included in. So for a lot of people, Zone B is going to be the important one, because it has most of the EU countries. And for some people, Zone C will also be important, with destinations like Australia, the US, Turkey, South Africa, and Canada. So to get roaming in Zone B, which is European countries, you need to have an extra plan with an inclusive roaming benefit, otherwise it costs £2.50 a day, or you need to buy one of their roaming passes. And even with roaming included, or if you paid for it, you can only use up to 25 gigabytes of your allowance overseas each month. A lot of other providers do this. Most of the time with 3, for example, it's only 12 gigabytes you can use overseas each month. On pay-as-you-go, it's a similar sort of thing. For Zone B, you'll need to pay for one of their extras, and there's also a further destinations extra for Zone C and Zone D countries. Basically, Vodafone roaming isn't the best choice, unless you plan to buy one of their more expensive pay-monthly plans that comes with extra benefits that unlock roaming. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to pay a pretty decent daily fee, or buy one of their roaming extras to use your allowance overseas. Fortunately though, Zone A roaming is included on most plans, so if you often go to Ireland for example, you don't have to worry about roaming difficulties when you do this. If you want a better roaming allowance, other networks like O2 are more likely to be a better choice. They give you inclusive roaming in 49 different EU countries, with the same 25 gigabyte usage limit as on Vodafone. We'd say that Vodafone as a seller isn't particularly good value for money, but their network can be. Let's explain what we mean by that. So if you look at their pay monthly phone deals, Vodafone can be competitive, but they're not always the cheapest option on the market. And that's especially true when you consider that a lot of their deals are handicapped by this normal 5G service. You'll normally have to pay more for 5G Ultra. Of course, to see exactly how competitive Vodafone is, make sure to come to greensmartphones.com and compare their prices to those of other networks for similar deals on the phone you're considering. So in the iPhone 15 Pro Max here, you can see the space price doesn't look too high, but it only comes with 8GB of data to begin with. You can build your contract, which is nice, giving you the flexibility to choose how long you want to be locked in for example. But say we wanted 50GB and we wanted 5G Ultra, we're up to £57 a month already, which is quite high compared to, for example, what 3 is charging for the same storage and the same contract length. Just 3 has a slightly higher upfront cost. It's a similar story on SIM only. Generally, 3 will offer better value, or you might be able to get a similar price with EE, but then EE has the benefit of having better coverage and speeds in most of the UK. So how can you get good value for money from Vodafone? Vodafone allows other smartphone resellers to use their network when selling phones. So on our comparison site, you'll often see that Vodafone is the cheapest option, but only when their deal is sold through a reseller like Phonehouse or Metrophone. For example, on the A25 at the moment, these are the cheapest deals on the Vodafone network. So if we go to the iPhone 15 Pro Max and then select Vodafone in the network filters down here, these deals sold through mobiles.co.uk are the cheapest. This still isn't particularly good value here, but you get a lot more data than you do on vodafone.co.uk, and you only have to commit for 24 months rather than 36, meaning you'll pay off the phone more quickly and only have to do these monthly payments for 2 years instead of 3 before you own the phone and can do what you want with it. So what about Vodafone's customer service? In short, Vodafone does okay, but they could do a lot better. Their support team is based in the UK, unlike 3's, which is good, but according to Ofcom, they could do better in some areas. So this is a report from Ofcom, looking at the customer service of the major mobile networks in the UK. They've surveyed customers to get this data, so you can see Vodafone's customer satisfaction with the service overall is about average at 86%. Compared to the industry average of 87, but quite a high number of customers have a reason to complain, and some customers aren't happy with the value for money they're receiving. When you call them though, you only spend about 2 minutes on hold on average, which is pretty good. So again, Vodafone is kind of middle of the road here. Their customer service is okay, and their team is UK based, but they don't have the best customer service on the market. So should you join the Vodafone Mobile network? If you want fast 5G speeds, they're definitely worth considering, especially if you've checked their network coverage map in your area, and their 5G service is widely available where you live. But they're not the best value for money, especially when buying through them directly, and their roaming options aren't the best, unless you buy one of their more expensive plans. Remember, click the link in the description to come to our comparison site to see if Vodafone offers the best prices on a phone you're considering buying, or come to SIM only up here if you just want a SIM only contract and you want to see if Vodafone offers good value for money. And if you have any questions about Vodafone or choosing a mobile network, leave a comment below and we'll get back to you.